Hello everybody, and welcome back to Gamer Reality. This is the third ever episode of the You're Playing It Wrong series, a series in which I tell you, in the least judgmental way possible, the biggest features in popular games you're either missing or playing completely wrong. In today's episode, we'll be covering a game that has been played wrong since the existence of VR, which is Robo Recall. And before I get into this video, I just wanted to mention that you should check out my channel, Gamer Reality. Click the link down below. I have a bunch of awesome videos that you can check out. Alright, let's get right into the video.
The first thing that I wanted to let you guys know is that this game is cross-buy. If you don't know what cross-buy means, it basically means that if you buy it on the Quest, then you also get it on your Rift or Rift S. So if you're on the fence about buying it, you definitely should. And even if you don't have an Oculus PC VR headset, you can still play it through a nifty software called Revive. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Now that you have the first step right, which is buying the game, let's move on to something interesting that everyone craves: points. When I was just getting into the game and completing the first few missions, I would feel kind of bad afterwards because the game was telling me that I was not getting enough points. Even after trying harder to kill more robots, it was still never good enough to get all the stars. Oh, so I'm not good enough for you, huh? Then I learned from a tip that melee kills get you more multiplier. And multiplier is super important, as you can get upwards of 14 times multiplier. So for that round, I focused on ripping off heads rather than shooting them off, and sure enough, I was able to get the achievements. Now, even if you kill a robot at a long range with a gun, you can still get their multiplier points, but you have to go over to where they died and collect the tokens laying on the ground that spilled out of them. Make sure to move quickly because they disappear after about a minute. And when you get injured, you don't have a health bar. The game actually decreases your multiplier. When your multiplier meter runs out, you have a little bit of health left before you die. But luckily you don't have to restart the mission. You can just pick up from right where you left off with a minus 10% on your score. But aside from dying, the less you get hit, the more you can keep adding to that multiplier. So do tons of melee kills and don't get injured if you want a lot of points. Now you may be saying, what about the other ways to recall the robots? Don't different ways of recalling them get you different amount of points? From my experience, almost all the ways to kill them get you the same amount of points, except for two. The first is Marksman Shots. I usually use my revolver with a laser sight for this, and what it means to do a marksman shot is to recall a robot that is really far away from you. What really boosts the points from these type of kills is distance. The farther away the robot is when recalled, the more points you get. It goes the same way with the sniper shots, which is headshots at a far distance. The second type of recall that gets you more points than the average hit is recalling robots as they run away. This is usually when you are done with a certain segment of the mission or when they're retreating, but you can still hit them as they run. The game calls this no escape and gives you some extra points. The next major topic I want to talk to you about is movement. It can slow down time and move you to some more optimal places, like out of the way of a rocket. A trick that I recently learned takes advantage of the time stalling abilities of teleportation, and it helps you aim better. If you click forward the trigger and act like you are teleporting somewhere and hold it, the game will slow down time for a couple of seconds as you make up your mind. In that couple of seconds, you can choose to aim a sniper shot at a running enemy in the distance. Once you shoot, however, it knows you don't want to teleport and speeds up time back to normal. Hey, you tricked me! You should also use teleportation frequently to find more enemies to kill, dodge their bullets, and slow down time in general. Every time that you teleport, it slows down time as you're choosing your destination, and then for a little while after you are there to let you get acquainted with your surroundings. That's how a 2-minute Robo Recall session can turn into a 5-minute Robo Recall session in no time at all. If you're focusing on getting the most points that round, you should focus on teleporting from one robot to the next to rip them apart. And when doing collection missions, you commonly don't need to spend the time taking the robot all the way to the collection spot. In most cases, you can just toss them in from wherever you're standing. Every time you throw in the game, it assists your accuracy, making everything a little bit easier. The next topic is something you might not expect: using robots as weapons. Yeah, that's right. Nearly every robot you encounter in this game can be used as a weapon. First of all, you can steal the gun from the humanoid robots, which, depending on your level, can be a better gun than the one in your holsters. The spider drones that run around on the ground can be thrown at an enemy and will explode on impact. The flying drones can be grabbed and used to shoot powerful pulse lasers at any robot that stands in your way. You get 3 shots before you have to toss it aside as trash. The rocket drones can be grabbed and used to shoot 3 self-guided rockets. Use the aiming system to target a distant enemy, and the missile will guide itself toward the moving target as best it can. Also, a small detail I noticed is that when you are holding a robot's arm or leg and you pull the trigger, you can see your finger move like you are shooting the arm or leg. And while we're on the subject of physical contact with robots, I just wanted to tell you that it is possible to kill the enemy with a punch or a whack from a spare leg. Make sure that you are holding the robot when doing this, as I learned that it doesn't work otherwise. This is quite fun to do, especially when venting out some inner aggression. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is level progression. This game has a lot of perks for going through the levels and completing more challenges. Completing the challenges can get you more weapon upgrades, which, if you don't know how to do that, select the weapon and put on the attachments, either physically or with the button, and then put the modified gun into the slot of your choice to save that gun. And for going up levels, you can get perks like increased weapon spawning to your holster and decreased teleportation wait time. Going back to the missions, I want to talk about some clever ways of beating them. For the mission where you can't shoot a gun, there is still a way to make long distance kills. I had this idea when I was locked down by one robot and being shot at by the other robot. I grabbed my gun and instead of shooting them, I threw the gun. 2 guns thrown at most robots will kill them. You can also deflect and throw their bullets back at them, but gun throwing is cooler. And if you ever wanted to know if you are close to beating a challenge, you can pause the game at any time and go to the challenges tab. There you can view all the challenges of that level and your real-time progress on each.
That is it for this video. And now, with all the information that I've passed on to you, you can now go and play it right. Shout out to all the people who are not only playing it right, but also paying it right. And for the only Patreon so far is SteveKnows. So make sure to check out my Patreon link down below, where you get a bunch of awesome rewards, including exclusive videos, early access, and even dictating what game I play. Like any game you want me to play, I'll play it. So go check it out down below. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Thanks for watching, and I cannot wait to see you in another video.